You might have heard of the term prompt engineering, as AI systems have started to come up more and more in our day-to-day lives. Now, I've spent about a week learning about this topic, and I'm going to digest all the information I've learned into some hopefully actionable and insightful takeaways for you. What actually is prompt engineering? Think about prompt engineering as nothing more than just talking in a way with an AI system like ChatGPT to get the best possible result that you want. Don't lose yourself in all the technical words that you might hear. It's talking in a way that a large language model will best understand you so that you can get good results and be in a happier place than you were without knowing this. So why does this matter and why should you watch this video? Well, as we start to use AI systems more and more in our day-to-day lives, learning how to actually communicate with them in a way that they're going to understand you and in a way that they're going to get the output that you actually want is going to become super, super important. So simply learning how to do this will allow you to do more with AI. But before we get into the techniques, during my learning, I actually learned that it's important to get into the context of prompt engineering to make sure that what you're learning is actually most suitable for you. And that requires some definitions. So the first thing to note is the way that you've been using these models for now has probably been under the basis of what's called conversational prompting. And it's really simple. That's basically just having a chat with it. You're talking with it, you're going back and forth. That is the basis of conversational prompting. Single shot prompting is quite simple. It's the idea that you're only going to have one chance and one prompt in order to get the result that you want to get from a large language model. So think about it quite literally. Single shot means that you've only got one shot to do what you want it to do. And when you're working with a large language model where you only get one shot, you're going to want to make sure your prompt is as good as it can be so that your result is exactly what you want it to be. This is where long form structured prompts come in, and that's when you're basically putting all your effort into one prompt, going through loads of different techniques, trying to make it as good as possible so that your result is exactly what you want it to be. Once you know the difference between these two things, you'll start to realize that in many cases you probably won't be working under a single shot prompting scenario unless you're making like an AI system or an AI automation, which I'll be doing future videos on. Then you'll probably be able to do conversational prompting where you can go back and forth. Now that's going to make things slightly easier, but still when you're conversationally prompting AI, you're going to want to use techniques that are in these long form structured prompts in order to still get the most of it with relatively minimal effort. I'm going to go over the techniques that are used in a long form structured prompt so that you'll have them all, and then the ones I'd recommend for you to take into a conversational prompt that you're using, and you can just take these ideas into your day-to-day interactions. These techniques are actually backed by a basis of research that shows they're giving a contribution to the outputs you're getting, so be sure to use them. The first thing that you want to do in your prompt is to actually give a role or a persona. This focuses the large language model's knowledge and abilities into areas that are actually going to be more contextually relevant to what you want. Use sentences like "you are a world-class something" or "you have 10 years of industry experience in." As I go through these techniques, I'm going to share with you an example for an AI note taker prompt. In my prompt, I've said that you are a world-class note taker specializing in distilling key information from various sources like videos, documents, and articles. The second thing you want to do with a prompt is actually defining your objective and task. And this is really important. It's really important for you to clearly state what you want from the AI model. In my example, I've said your goal is to create detailed, thorough, and in-depth summaries while maintaining clarity and conciseness. I then go on to say I wanted to use the Pareto principle to make sure that it's getting the most important bits of information from its sources. The next thing you're going to want to do is provide more context in the prompt, and this is where you make the use of a technique called emotional prompting. Now, I find this quite interesting because you're essentially using emotional manipulation in order to get the best possible result or work you can from a large language model. So you're making use of phrases and sentences that will try and convey how important or urgent your work is, or how much it's going to help you, or this is vital to my career, or even using sentences about how good the AI is. You're really going to hype it up. I saw that a lot when I was learning. You almost want to hype up this model in the prompt to really explain how good it is, how much this is going to help you, and why this is almost the most important thing in the world. If you even offer a tip to the large language model, it will recognize that this is a characteristic of human behavior where you're expecting a good delivery of a service or a good delivery of results, and it will try and do more for you. It's quite strange, but also I think this is one of the most interesting techniques for prompt engineering. So in my context, I've said that this is vital to my work as I heavily rely on accurate and well-structured notes. Then I go into how its contribution is going to play a critical role and how the output will inform my understanding and be a basis for my further work. The next thing you want to do is create a set of instructions in your prompt. This is called chain of thought prompting, but don't let that word sort of disrupt you or your understanding of the fact that you are literally just giving instructions. What you want to do is just give a list, step by step, 1, 2, 3, 4, exactly what you want the model to do. Once you've broken down the task into manageable steps, you're actually helping the large language model go through a sequence of things to do, making it much more manageable and making errors and inaccuracies a lot less common. For example, I've given a set of instructions and some things that I want the large language model to particularly focus on. Number 5 is to provide examples within your prompt. This is also called few shot prompting. Don't let that confuse you with single shot prompting. They're relatively different. Few shot prompting is just the idea of giving examples within your prompt. Remember, single shot prompting is the one shot you get in a scenario where you're only going to be prompting one time. But in this case, you can actually provide example inputs and example outputs that you want to get in your data or results or in your prompt. So your output, you can have a specific structure that you want it to follow with various headings, various examples, various lists, and the specific things that you want to have the large language model pick out for you. Examples are known to really help actually drive the accuracy and match what you want to the output that it gives. But it makes a lot of sense. You're showing it what you want. That is as simple as your understanding of this could be, showing what you want. In my example, I actually haven't given an input. I've just given it the structure of an output that I want it to use with all the right headings and pieces of information I want it to include. The last thing that you want to include in your prompt is some notes at the very end. This utilizes a thing called the lost in the middle technique, which is a premise where a large language model will pay closest attention to actually the sort of start of your prompt and the ending. So the most important information should be here and here. So in the notes section, you can highlight anything that's really key in your prompt, but also add in things that you don't want it to do. And this might come from testing out your prompt, realizing it keeps doing this, I want it to change that, and specifically stating don't do this. Here you can make use of other techniques like the emotional prompting, add in another note about how crucially important this is to your career and without which that you might as well not exist. So that is where notes come in. In my notes section, I've just reminded it of some key things that I want it to use, telling it to focus on a step-by-step thinking process, or to use the Pareto principle. Got another little sentence asking for the notes to be in the requested format, and also, once again, telling it how appreciative I am of its work that it's doing. Now, I'll leave that prompt in the comments or the description so you can copy it and use it for anything you might want to do. That was the basis for long-form structured prompts, and you have a load of techniques and a big structure to use there. And to be honest, it's a little bit overkill. In our day-to-day reality, are we really going to write out all of this and use all of these techniques for just the simple tasks that we're using with ChatGPT or the like? The answer is probably no. But still, when you're writing short prompts or even just having a quick conversational interaction with AI, these things are quite important to remember for you to still tease out more value from the system. If you can just remember quickly, I'm going to write, you are an email marketer with 5 years experience that has a particular aptitude for writing short, empowering, impactful sentences. If you can just bash that out, you'll be able to get a little bit more feedback from the large language model, making your prompt a little bit better. If you have a particular desired output for your short form prompt, then examples will be really helpful to just give it more understanding of how you want your output to look. Here, another quick tip is for you to ask the best model that you might have available to you for an output, and then if you use that output, change it to how you want and maybe edit it slightly and then use that as an example. You're again teasing out the best you possibly can for the cheaper models that might not require payment or subscriptions. Still, throughout this, you could probably use emotional prompting right at the end, just writing, thank you so much, this is really crucial to me at the moment. Probably teasing out again more value there as well. Now in this case, because you're in a short form context, you can also be more conversational, which means that you can actually iterate on the prompt. What I mean by this is that after you prompt, you can actually ask ChatGPT to rate its response. Ask on a scale of 1 to 10, rate the response that you gave, it'll pull out things that it did well, pull out things that it can improve on, and actually it will make those improvements. And you can go back and forth to be like, nice output, please can you try this? Or nice output, but please do not do this. So you can go back and forth to slowly get to what you want. So here I just made a really quick, simple example of just a short prompt, just having a bit of fun. I said you're an expert ghostwriter specializing in bringing fictional characters' voices to life, giving it a role. Then the objective is to write a 2-paragraph welcome email to the new members of my breakfast club in the voice of Mike Wazowski. Then some instructions. Please write the first half giving a brief thank you. Second, write the second half detailing our new porridge bowl, currently buy one get one free. And then I gave it some instructions to please only write 6 sentences. Then I've given it a little bit of emotional prompting by saying how crucial this will be to my business. Let's see how this goes. So I've got a little response, but now I can say something like, please rate your output in my prompt. And then it says, yeah, it's an 8 out of 10. Strengths, character voice, engagement. Then the areas of improvement that it would like. I've said, please rewrite the output with your areas for improvement, and we'll see what it comes up with. So, and here you can go back and forth to keep adjusting it to get the result that you would actually want. That was a pretty small example of where you can be conversational and make iterations and go back and forth using some of these. Again, it's not completely necessary, but I hope this video has been helpful for you to at least understand how prompt engineering works, make it more easy, and hopefully give you some techniques that you feel like you can use.